Hello and welcome to my channel, Judy's Creations in Crochet. And today is March the 17th, 2022. So happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. We'll come back and talk about that later. I've had a number of new subscribers in the past week, so I want to welcome you. And I want to welcome back all my regular subscribers. And I really want to thank you all for the very kind words you left after my video last week when I did a show on my cross stitch. You had such lovely compliments, and I really want to thank you because I know that video ran pretty long, longer than I'm used to, and I only scratched the surface. And there is more I could have told you about cross stitch. I know I left some important things out, and there's more I could have showed you. You remember I mentioned I left something downstairs, and this is the item that was unique that I left downstairs and wanted to show you. So I'm not going to talk about it. I just wanted to show it to you. And I thank you again for all of your kind words about my work. And if you would like to see more cross stitch sometime in the future, or know about it, learn something about it, I would be happy to do another video sometime way in the future, but that is entirely up to you. I just want to thank you. So today we are going to concentrate on finished objects. We haven't done many in the past, so today that's all we're going to look at. And I'm going to start with Kiki, who is here in her St. Paddy's Day dress to say hello to everybody. And I wanted to say something about this dress because I did a different pattern this time. Now, if you recall, back in the fall, I did a whole episode showing you loveys, and I used the pattern you can find online that looks like a granny square. It's just a big granny square, and you can find it on Zelda NRJ's channel. She does a tutorial for it, and most people, that is the pattern they use. It's about the only pattern that's out there. And I did all my loveys in this, although I still have more to make. And I thought I wanted to try something different. So when I started to make the dresses for Kiki, I don't know if you noticed, but they were all circular. And all I did to do this, of course, they're all on a hair tie in the center. I basically did what you do when you make a hat or a beanie. In a circular fashion. I increased, sometimes I didn't increase at all, but mostly I increased out just like you do at the top of a hat, but I never stopped. And then when I get to the edge, I do like 2 in 1, 2 in every one, or 3 in every one, depending on how roughly I want to make it. And that's the way I've been making her dresses. But I wanted to try something different because I had something suggested to me by one of my viewers. And I thought I would try making a zigzag or a star-shaped one. And I have seen loveys that are done with this star-shaped skirt. But the loveys, see the star shape? And some of them have I think 9 points. I saw one with 12 points. This one, I believe, I was going to make 8 points, and because of my numbers, I think it's a 7 point. But there isn't a pattern for this exactly. What there is a pattern for an amigurumi with a skirt, or a lovey as they would call it. And the skirt is done all in one piece, starting from the center, building out. They then stitch the head, and they attach the head to the skirt. Well, of course, as you know, I'm not starting from a center point. I'm starting from a circle because I have to put it on the hair tie to get it to go over their head so they can wear it. So I had to jump out a bit in the pattern. And of course, I have to make sure there's enough stitches to cover the hair tie, and the stitches didn't correspond exactly with the pattern. And then I had to kind of alter the numbers to make these star points. And it worked fine. I can't say I'm a big fan of it. I suppose if I started from the middle like she did and used her numbers, it might have looked nice. It looks okay. It uses a little more yarn, I think. And I used, again, I went into my stash of minis, and this is what I have left over from the minis that I pulled out. And then I used some baby yarn I had to finish it off to put a white border on it. And I didn't do the roughly this time. Didn't look right on this star shape. And besides, with all of this, it was kind of fluffy enough. So I did that to be a little different. In April, which I already have done, I went back to the circular pattern. But I have also seen the square pattern, but it isn't what I call a granny square. It's I guess they call it a solid granny square, and that's what I'm going to try in May. Instead of having all the holes, I don't really like having holes when they're for babies because they can get their fingers and their toes caught in them. So I'm going to make what's called a solid granny square for the May one and just see how I like it. And again, I'll probably have to adapt the pattern because I think it starts from a center. But, you know, knowing how to make a granny, I'm sure I can adapt it to make it solid. Just fill it in. So I just wanted to mention that Kiki said hello, and she had her March dress made, and we already have her April, which has got Easter colors in it. So I'll be busy all year making more, and we'll see. If you have any ideas of other patterns to use for her skirt, I'd be more than happy to hear about them. So, continuing on, I'm not wearing anything special today. This is the only green thing in my wardrobe, so I brought out the green, and I'm wearing the same scarf as I was last week, which is the Jazzy Barista. But Hope is all decked out in a special outfit for you. And here she is in St. Paddy's Day green. And some of you may recognize this. There's the back so you can see the whole thing. I had this out a few weeks ago when I was showing you what I called all my UFOs. And I only had 3. It turns out I had a 4th one, but I have worked on it off and on through the fall. So I pulled this out of my UFO pile. I told you that I ran into a problem with the numbers at the bottom. I had pulled it out a couple of times. I really wanted to finish it though, and St. Patrick's Day gave me the incentive to finish it. I just think that the color changes in this cake are beautiful, although I have to tell you that I did not use the whole of the cake. It gets quite dark at the bottom, and just a minute, I have the ball over here. Here's what's left, and you can see it's going to get darker in at the end. But there was no way I could finish it with the pattern I was using. This is the Erigenia pattern, and the top part is great. And I will link the pattern for you if you want to use it. But when you get this far, right about where these are, right after this, there should be only one row of the open and then solid again. It goes into a bit of an intricate pattern that has baubles in it, and so they look like sort of like leaves hanging at the bottom, and baubles take up a fair bit of yarn, but I'm sure I would have had enough if I hadn't put all this in it. But it didn't matter how many rows I did and tried to fudge. I could not get the numbers to be the right for the pattern. My mistake. Somewhere along the way, I didn't do the right count. So I just decided to finish it plain. I did some, like I said, I did 2 rows of the open lace. Then I did 2 regular rows. And then I did some stitching in the back loop only. And I did that 1, 2, 3 times every other row. And then I did a shell along the edge, which makes for a nice finish. I hope you can tell this has sparkle all through it. And it is a, I believe it's called Yarn Art Moonlight. The flowers is plain. The moonlight has the sparkle in it. And it is a cake like all the other gradient cakes with 1,000 meters or 1,093 yards. And it's cotton acrylic blend and makes beautiful shawls. And like I said, green is not something I typically wear or have around, but I did get this one because it did look so beautiful. And I'm really glad I finished it. And now I have one less UFO hanging around. And I think that's quite a beautiful shawl. Somebody is really going to enjoy it. And for those that are new to my channel, I have a Facebook business page where all of my finished items are posted. They are there to be for sale, just like Etsy, but I don't have an Etsy page. I never did start one up, and I hear mixed things about it, so I never did start an Etsy page. I have the Facebook page. So that's what Hope is wearing. So now moving on to other things that I have finished. I do have 2 other finished objects that I have finished in the last couple of weeks while I was doing, getting ready for the cross stitch episode and so on. Now, I don't know if you'll remember, if you go back to the picture, I'm going to try and post the picture here. Let's hope it works. I think I still have it, of all of the Stenley yarn I had. And this particular cake was also in my, what do you want to call it? My challenge last fall is one of the yarns I had never used and wanted to use. I may have to use that picture instead. But look for the tall one, and it's called Donuts. And it was so pretty when I saw it online, I had to buy it. And it is, this is the tag that was on it. And it is cotton, 50% cotton, 10% mohair, and 20% wool, and 20% acrylic. Has just about everything in it. The cotton does stand out. It's a strand that runs through the middle. Let's see if I can get a loose strand here. You can see that it has the color running through the middle. And that is cotton. And that is the cotton, very, very similar to what's in these cakes. But wound around it is this other strand, and I can pull it free here. This other strand, it's kind of got a black center. So, do you see them? And it's got a black core with mohair, I think, sort of wrapped around it. And that is wrapped around the cotton. I almost wish before I started, I had unwrapped that mohair from around it, because I can't say this was the nicest thing to work with. It had, I'm pretty sure it had 900 meters in that cone. and it changed from purple through to this. It ends with the lighter color of the aqua, and it wasn't really nice to work with, and it definitely was awful to frog. So I was quite happy to, I purposely, because I knew already before I started it wouldn't be the best to work with, I picked what I considered to be a very easy, basic pattern, and that is the Modern Granny, and I will link it. That is a tutorial put out by Fiber Spider, because it doesn't matter, and it actually eats up yarn a bit. That's why I wanted it. And so here is the finished product. Where's the top? Starts with purple, and it goes into a darker purple and a purpley blue, and then it goes to a dark aqua and to a lighter aqua. So there it is. In fact, you know what? I'll put it on Hope. But the one thing I really noticed, especially when I was done, so can you see the color changing there? I'll turn around to her back. It's very subtle. Now I can see it better now, but when I was holding it up and looking at it myself, I hardly could see the stitch. So it was a good thing I picked something very, very basic, which is a granny stitch, because this yarn would not allow a fancy stitch to shine at all. It's not the softest. I mean, it's not scratchy, but it's just not as soft as you would think it might be. It was splitty and hard to work with, and definitely you don't want to make a mistake in frog. Now in this particular pattern, I'm not as prone to making mistakes, and if I made a mistake by putting, well, what do you know, there's one right there. I put 4 double crochets instead of 3 in the cluster, and a person would never notice it. Or if I put 2 by accident instead of 3, a person would never notice it. So I have used another one of my yarns that I've never used before, the Donut from Stenley, and I'll tell you quite honestly, I will not be reordering this yarn from Stenley. Now, so far, I haven't had a lot of luck with the yarns from Stenley. I've picked ones that I didn't care for, but I picked unusual ones. So I think some of the ones that are left there, which are plain cotton, I'm going to like. So I should use one of those soon, so that I have something positive to say about this company. So that is one of the ones I finished maybe 2 weeks ago. Then another one I worked on in the last couple of weeks is I made another cocoon. I'm low on cocoons, and I know they will be popular in the fall. And I just want to make one at a time every so often. And here it is. There, I actually had enough yarn, lots of yarn. I put a bit of a sleeve in it. So this is the cocoon. Nothing exciting to look at. I suppose once more I could put it on Hope. There we go. Has the band around it. Like I said, I make a rectangle. This is just done in double crochets. And then once I have seamed up here, the seam has to show. It's the only way you can put it together. And then, as you can see, I did a band on it going all the way around. The back is plain. And this is done, I don't know how many of you recognize it, This is done in puzzle yarn. Here is, I didn't realize, I thought I had 3 balls, and it turns out that I had 4 balls. And I have this much left over from the 3rd ball. It's not half, but it might be 1/4 of a ball, I'm not sure. And Premier Puzzle. And let me tell you a little bit about Premier Puzzle. It's 100% acrylic. And the color on this is called, I think it's called Dominoes. Yep, Dominoes. It's a nice, I love the color. I love the feel of it. This will be nice and nice and warm in the winter because it is a bulky 5. And it's, of course, OTEC approved. Oh, Okotex approved. Meets a standard for 100 different items. And I think this is popular enough. Most of you will be familiar with it. So that's what I made this cocoon out of. And I have this in several colors. I forget how many balls I bought of the others, but I'll be making another cocoon. If I have enough, I might make a ruana with one of them, or I might make a poncho, depending on how many balls I have. And if I have some left over, I think I may put them all together and do a stripy ruana or something, because I have a whole ball plus this, and it is a number 5, so it goes far. So I'll have plenty to make some other things. Okay, so those are the things I've gotten done just recently. I got one other thing done last night, but I want to block it, and then I will show it to you next week. So I went back and stash diving, and I showed you wraps not too long ago. So I brought out a couple more wraps. First, I will show you this one. It's just rectangular. Like I said, I call them wraps when they are rectangular. It's a pretty good length and width. Can be wrapped around you. It is narrow enough you could even make a scarf out of it. I had it wrapped around my neck like a scarf the other day, just to check it out. It's not a pattern for a wrap. I just go into some of the patterns I see online, like for wraps or scarves, or even for blankets. And I pick out the pattern and just use it. And this is the pattern I'm using. It's mostly shells. Okay, I would have worked this way on it. And you can see it, shells, chains, and then the row above it is pretty much all chains, and then you do the same thing again. You do the shell, chain, single crochet into the chain, and then more shells. So it's pretty straightforward, very repetitious, very easy. And this is made with bamboo, Lamia bamboo that I would have gotten from Hobium. And it is just bamboo, 100% bamboo. Feels very nice. I don't know if you can see that it has a bit of a sheen to it. It's very soft or silky feeling, and great drape. Very lightweight, would be good for spring or summer. To wrap around your shoulders. And this is, it looks kind of pale blue, but I think it was a very, very light, very pale aqua. I have both colors, but I'm pretty sure this is the one that's almost aqua. Looks ice green in some of the light. I wish I had some left over to show you, but I don't. Anyway, that's that wrap. That will now, it's on in my shop right now. And finally, I have one more wrap. to show you today. And this wrap was actually a cowl that I did. I enjoy doing the cowls that EFA holds. Right now they're doing a year-long cowl of a blanket, and I made so many Afghans and such when I was contributing to the mission program at church that I'm kind of tired of Afghans or blankets, and I have no need for them myself. So I have one more wrap. Again, you could consider it something else. This one is wider than the last one, and it starts and it works the whole way with increase on one side and decrease on the other side, so that it looks like it's going on an angle. See the point? And it works down to the other end also in a point. Get this to hang up. It's quite long. There we go. Now it uses 4 colors, and you start with color A. Oops, it's the other end that does it. You start with color A, and then you put in B for the stripes, and then you go on to B and put C in for the stripes, and then C and put D in for the stripes, and then you put D in and work back to color A, D and A and reverse it, A and D, and then you keep going backwards. So what happens is, if you get the middle here, it's the same on both sides. See, and then these are both the same, opposite, solid with the stripes, opposite solid with the stripes. Then you go out to the green with the blue, and this will be blue with the green, and at the very end you have green with the pink, and which this pink with the green. So it's quite long. I'm going to say it's at least 7 feet long, maybe more, and that's probably about 20 inches across. You're wondering why I'm not talking metric, but I was raised with the British system. We went metric when I was in university, so I can do both, but it's still more natural to talk inches and feet when I'm looking at the length of things. So it might be close to 2 meters, 1.5 meters at least long. And this is a pattern by Expression Fiber Arts. Like I said, I worked in a cowl. I was part of a cowl, and it used their yarn called Blossom Fingering. And this is the Blossom Fingering, one of the colors that I used, the blue. Oh, it's too low. The blue that I used in it. So you can get this pattern on their site. At the time, it would have been free. I don't know how many of you realize that every week, EFA, Expression Fiber Arts, has a free pattern. And one week it'll be crochet, another week it'll be knitted, and it's free for a couple of weeks usually, and then it goes into their paid pattern. So now that would be a paid pattern, but at the time it was free. So you need to subscribe to them and get whatever free patterns you're interested in getting. So let's talk for just a moment about the yarn. It is Blossom Fingering. And by the way, I will link the pattern. I will link EFA in the description. You'll have to go looking for. They don't have any Blossom Fingering right now on their site. This was a limited time, but they bring it back in the appropriate season. It's one of their spring or summer ones, so I suspect they're bringing it back a late spring, maybe in the summer. Right now, their spring ones are Seacoast and Ephemeral and Blossom. And Ephemeral is about to be released, I think, at the end of this week. So Blossom Fingering, a lot of you will like this because of what's in it. It has 50% bamboo, 30% merino wool, and 20% tencel. Okay, so we're getting a fair bit of what we call vegan fibers in here. Their other ones don't have wool at all. They are completely vegan. This has 366 meters or 402 yards. And as you could see, those were some of the colors that it came in. There were other colors, pale pinks and pale blues and some other color, grays and so on. So that is the Expression Fiber Arts yarn. And I'm going to go into more depth about that, about this yarn, because 2 weeks from now, my plan is to do one whole episode on a review. I've never actually done a review. I've shown you lots of yarns from lots of places. I've never reviewed anything. And I thought 2 weeks from now, that's March the 31st, I'm going to do an in-depth review of a number of yarns from Expression Fiber Arts. As you can see, I like their yarns, and I have lots of it, and I have some of almost every kind of yarn they have. Not everyone, because you know I'm not as big into the heavier, so I don't have their bulky at all, and I think I only have one of their worsted weight. At the moment, I don't have any lace weight. Oh yes, I do. I have alpaca silk lace. But I am going to, 2 weeks from now, get many of their yarns out, especially the ones I have worked with, because I haven't worked with every one of them yet, and tell you, give you a review. And I already know I'm going to do their 3 summer weight yarns, because I started swatches on them, and I'm going to do swatches on all of the others and tell you what I know about them. And there are some that I don't care for. So stay tuned for that in 2 weeks' time. So that's the end of my FOs for today. And next week, we're going to do a few more FOs. In the meantime, before next Thursday, my regular scheduled video, you'll see a video come out on Sunday. For those of you who have been checking all the videos as they come out, I've done some teasers to prepare you for the seasonal Yarny YouTube hop. I'm participating in that year-long cow, which has one make for each season. So next Sunday, first day of spring, I will be doing my spring Yarny YouTube hop. And I'm one of, I think there are 13 of us participating in it. So please be watching on Sunday for the release of that video. It's all ready to go. And you're going to want to catch it, because there's some important information on that video. And I show you the item. That's another thing I've been working on. I'll show you the item I've been working on this spring. And then next week, as I said, there'll be some FOs. And I promised you a while back that I would do an episode about tops, pullovers, summer tops, whatever. And then I told you a week or so later that I'm canceling that because I was getting frustrated and wasn't making much headway with tops. And I will do that in the fall. But I did get 2 tops made, and you did see I had one of them on, and I didn't go into depth about it. So that and another top did get finished. I'm not 100% happy with them, but I will show you those 2 sweaters that I said I would be showing, and some other FOs, whatever I can get done in the next week. So I hope you'll join me next week for some more finished objects. And until then, happy hooking.